them, then the nervousness and the anxiety transforms back into excitement because it's the same energy. And that gives you the opportunity to find out what those beliefs are. So the fact that you experience the nervousness is exciting because the nervousness is letting you know you have unconscious beliefs that you don't prefer. And that's exciting to discover that because now you have something to work with. Now you have something that you can use in your story in a conscious way. Yes?
Yeah, I guess.
So being nervous is exciting because it allows you to discover what you didn't know about yourself that will add to more and more of your excitement. Yes?
And part of my story?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's exciting when you look at it that way. Yes?
Yes.
So look at it that way. It's up to you. Completely, utterly up to you. Isn't it?
I guess in the end, there's only me.
That's it. Only you. Because even though there are others, the only way you interact with anyone is by creating your version of them out of your energy in your reality. Still you're interacting with, even though you're also interacting with others. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So tell whatever story you want, populate it with whatever characters you prefer. It's your story. Yes?
Yeah, yes, thank you for the permission slip.
Thank you. You're welcome. Good day.
And can I ask you a couple of little things?
I don't know. That was a question.
Oh, okay.
Was that one of the little things?
No. I have a daughter who I always, and this is more of like an intuition question that maybe will help anybody, is I always feel that she's a very evolved individual, more so than myself, if that's possible.
What an unusual thing for a parent to think about their child.
No, I mean, she's...
Many of the children that have been being born on your planet in recent times, within the last few decades, are not just a new generation, they are a new species.
Really?
Yes.
Like when the last couple of generations?
Yes.
Wait, how long is a generation? Like...
About 20 years.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So you will find that they are coming in, many of them, not forgetting as much of who they are. That's what you're picking up on.
Yes, that's it. You said it beautifully, because I see the connection there. I sense the connection that they know who they are.
And thus they become the teachers of the parents.
Wow, that makes sense.
Thank you.
And then...
That will do.
That's my last question?
That's it. Because you can answer the rest yourself. For now.
How about just one, can I ask?
For now.
Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you.
Would you like to have one more question, or?
Is your time frame approaching your nutrition period?
It is.
Then we can continue with the questions after your nutritional break.
Okay, great.
We thank you for allowing this co-creation and this transmission, and we will continue after you have had your intermission. How's it going? Good? All right, I'll say we will continue with the transmission in the following way. We have discussed the idea of writing
your life story, writing that structure. Now we are going to discuss and share information about living your story, how to take that structure and turn it into a living experience. Now, of course, there are many ways, and it still all comes down to the idea of acting on your highest joy to the best of your ability without expectation every moment that you can. That is still the idea of the strong permission slip, as you say in your language, in a nutshell. Nevertheless, as we more deeply examine the notion of this particular story structure, archetype, permission slip, it can give you, by dealing with its specific components, more understanding of the nature of the process, more clarity with how to use this inherently included in structure in your psyche. And so, we will suggest to follow through with the idea of really transforming that structure into something that is a living thing for you. The following idea. We have mentioned that there are, of course, many sources on your planet that describe the components of story structure. You can find these components listed in many of the books that exist in your society that have to do either with specifically story structure or writing, perhaps even screenplay books, how to write screenplays, how to understand story structures, or some of the philosophical books that we have mentioned. We'll discuss a list, we'll provide a list of the different components, the specific discrete components of story structure. As we have suggested, it would be in your best interest in following through in this particular exercise and permission slip to go and find one of those books, procure one of those books on story structure, and once you have that, if it is not already listed for you, which often it is, write down on a piece of paper each component of the story structure, starting with the hero, going all the way to the climax, and maybe even beyond what you might even call a little bit of an epilogue, if you wish. It's up to you. But list each component in order of the archetypal story structure. Now, once you have done that, you will now write a short story, the story that you would prefer to live, the story that you would prefer your life to be, your new life story, your preferred life story. You will write a short story and make sure that as you write it, you will include at least one description of one experience or one scene that you would prefer to create that is based on each of those story structure components, both positive and negative, in terms of facing challenges and overcoming them, transforming them, protagonist, antagonist, twists, mentors, call to action, all these things. Sit with it till you understand the components of the structure, and then begin to write a short story that describes the life that you wish to tell yourself, the life that you will begin to tell yourself, the story you will begin to tell yourself from that point forward after you write this story. Now, you don't have to be the best writer in the world. We're not saying this is a writing class. So you don't have to worry exactly about how you are describing these things. What is important is to make sure that the scene you are describing is based on that particular story, structure, archetypal component. Step 3, step 1 being isolate the story component, step 2 being write the story, step 3 is to begin to act out like you're an actor on the stage, either in the privacy of your own home or in front of friends. It's up to you at first. Act out that story as best you can. Provide props if you need, draw pictures if you need to put on your walls that represent whatever things you have represented ought to be in that scene that's representative of that story structure, archetypal component. Whatever you have to do to make it as real as you possibly can, make it as much like a true stage play as you can, but from beginning to end, act it out. All the things you wish to say, all the things you wish to do that are representative of your life. Now, it doesn't have to be every single thing. Just pick the strongest one, the most enjoyable one, the most challenging one, maybe even the most fearful one for those particular scenes that are based on that component, and just pick the one that is most representative in energy of that particular story component. Put it all together in your story and act it out as best as you can, as fully as you can, as if you are an actor on a stage, all the way from beginning to end. All the way from beginning to end. And you will do that 3 times in this particular exercise, in this particular permission slip, in this particular process. The first time, you will just do it. You will just start from the beginning and act it out, go all the way to the end. Now, this doesn't have to be very, very long. It can just be a few pages. It can be as many pages as you wish, but don't make it too long. Allow yourself to know that this is simply a representative symbol. This is an archetypal symbol. In and of itself, it just carries the proper resonances. It just carries the proper frequencies. And if you choose scenes that contain the highest amount of energy representative of each component, you will then have the appropriate frequencies and vibrations in place to go through the story from beginning to end. So first time you do it, just take a stand or sit or however you need to begin your story and just begin acting it out all the way to the end. That's the first time. Second time, allow yourself in some way, shape, or form to actually record it. You can videotape it, you can audio tape it, you can do both. Record yourself doing it. And before you start, actually say the word action. And then do it. Act it out all the way through to the end. And when you are done, before you turn off the recording, actually say the words, the end. That's the second pass. Now, the third pass is you will do this in front of someone. A friend, family member, someone. Not your pet, a person, or more than one, ideally at least 3. You will also, again, record it, video and or audio. You will start again with action at the beginning, go through it, get to the end, say the end. Allow the people, tell the people who are watching to also respond appropriately in those moments. Now, it doesn't in this case have to necessarily be what you would call a genuine response. If they laugh, if they cry, if they recoil in fear, naturally that's fine. But ask them to actually do so even if they don't completely feel it, to give you the feedback. So that when you are going through a transformation and you are touching on the idea of either sadness or happiness or fear or joy, they will respond accordingly. Allow them to laugh, allow them to cry, allow them to do whatever they want, even if they appear to be faking it, so to speak, simulating it. For the purpose of this exercise, ask them to actually pretend to respond if they cannot come up with a genuine one. And go from beginning to end that way in this third time. Then, after you have done that, allow yourself then to look at or listen to the recording that you have made of yourself, telling yourself this new story, the story of who you prefer to be, both in joy and in the acceptance and transformation of the challenges that you will place in your story at the appropriate points, taking your cue from the archetypal components as they are timed out on the list of story structure elements. Watch or listen to yourself again, hearing that story, seeing you play out that story. This is, in a sense, a way to make a little bit more solid the idea of the visualization that goes on in your head, your imagination, your visualization of your ideal story. By actually recording it and seeing it, ideally, and or listening to it, if you cannot visually record it, it will start to really anchor the energy of that imagination scenario, that visual symbol of that story. It will start to really anchor it vibrationally in your being. Because now you will actually have an externalized projection of what has been in your mind's eye. And even though it's still just a symbol, and you don't have to put any expectation on it that it must come to fruition exactly as you wrote it, remember to always allow the higher mind to bring you unexpected twists. It will still nevertheless help really ground and anchor that visualization into your physical reality in much the same way that when you go and experience a film in your movie theater or a television show that you get caught up in, you will start to see and use all your senses in the same way, and it will really start to help make that particular scenario seem much more impactful, much more real, because when you do that with your own story, make your own movie of your own life story in this way, hitting exactly all the story structure components that will pluck chords within the story structure archetype in your consciousness, and you're seeing yourself do that, the response, the communication, the connection, the relevance, the resonance, the amplification, the magnification of that visualization will be profoundly more magnified for you than just keeping it in your head. It will seem far more real. It will seem experiential. It will start to rub off on you as if you've already actually experienced it. And that's the key to this particular permission slip exercise, is to get it out of your head, in front of your eyes, so that you are receiving the vision, hearing the energy, you are going through, you're identifying with it because it's you, and you're seeing yourself go through the exact transformative experiences in the story structure, the archetypal structure that you need to go through to really know that you've experienced this transformation. And you do this, you anchor it in, you lock it in, you resonate with it, it plucks those chords, and you really start to identify with that particular frequency of transformational story. That story becomes your story. Really becomes your story vibrationally. Again, doesn't matter if certain things will alter in the way that story actually plays out in your physical life. What you're doing here is anchoring to the vibrational points of the archetypal story structure, so that whatever comes in from the higher mind will fit that resonance and be exactly what it needs to be that scene in your story, in order for the overall story as the combination of scenes to ultimately be the energy that you prefer it to be. This can be a very powerful permission slip. You all know how entranced you get when you go and see a movie that sinks in. Well, this is your movie. Again, it doesn't have to be the most accomplished movie in the world. It doesn't have to be the best filming or the best writing in the world. It just has to be genuine. It just has to be honest. It just has to be sincere and heartfelt, and it has to be passionate in the sense that you know this is the story you prefer to tell. This is the story you prefer to tell to the world. This is the story you prefer to tell to yourself. This is the story that you know yourself to be. That's what makes the difference. And if you watch this over again 3 times at least, then it will really start to anchor in. And if you want to, if you feel creative enough, by all means, rewrite it, refine it, film it again, watch it again. Go through this exercise as many times as you wish until you feel that really is your vibration. It's up to you. This is just a permission slip. You may find that your imagination will provide you other ideas of how to do this, and that's fine, because your imagination is key to your vibration, so let it. Let the unexpected twists crop up even in the doing of this particular permission slip creation, because creating this permission slip is still what? A part of your story. So even the creating of your story is part of your story. So let that be all right for it to alter itself in whatever way, shape, or form it needs to in terms of the details, in terms of the expression, in terms of exactly how it manifests on the story spine, but do not alter the archetypal story structure. To do so, as we said, will be to eliminate the framework that creates context and relevance for what is already embedded in your physical mind psychology as an archetypal structure that you want the story to resonate with. So do not change the structure, but allow yourself to play with all the details. Be very creative of the details. Sometimes you don't even have to allow these details to be in what you would call linear order. Look at some of the films you have on your planet that are completely non-linear. They start at the beginning, start in the middle, start at the end, go backwards, go forwards, go left, right, up, down. But they do not forsake the actual archetypal structure. All the components of the structure are still there, even if the timeline is skewed. So you can be creative, but don't let go of the story structure. So, once again, very briefly, go and do your research, find a book or a source of information that lays out the list of the story structure components that are considered essential to the telling of any story in its fullest form. Make that list yourself. Don't just leave the list in the book. Actually write the list out. All of this, again, is for the purpose of anchoring this in you and making it your own. Because if you just leave it in the book, it won't be yours. Write it out, type it out, however you wish, but do it yourself. Make it your own. Write the list out. Then write the story. Once you are satisfied with that, then, as we said, act it out 3 ways. Just act it out yourself, kind of like what you would call a dress rehearsal. And by the way, if you know in that story you're actually wearing something different that you'd prefer to be wearing, wear it. If you want to do costume changes in your story, by all means, do them. Make it as real as possible. As if you were really watching an actor in a stage play, you would expect these kinds of changes. Some costume changes to liven it up, maybe even some lighting changes. Be creative with this. The more creative you can be, the more visceral and sensorial you can make this, the stronger the vibration will be, the stronger the impact will be within the resonant chords in your own psyche. So act it through once as a dress rehearsal. Then record it and say action at the beginning and the end. At the end. Then the 3rd time, record it in front of friends. Action at the beginning, the end. Then watch it. Watch it and look and allow yourself to really get into it. Let yourself go. Let yourself identify with it, but at the same time, be the audience. Let that be an actor that is not you, while at the same time it is you. Again, that balance moment that the actor on stage has when they are totally in the present with the part, feeling the character, feeling the emotion, feeling everything, feeling the transformations going on within their character, and at the same time are engaging with the audience, and the audience engaging with them. Be in that center point. Be the actor on the stage one time you watch it. Be the audience watching it objectively. Allow yourself to go back and forth and play with this idea as many times as it takes. Refine it if you want to. Reshoot it if you want to. Until such time as you begin to truly feel that when you walk away from that, it's as if you have seen a really wonderful film and you really can remember it. You can feel it all. You can identify with it all. And if someone were to ask you, just as they often do on your planet, oh, you just saw a movie? What was it? What was it about? You would actually be able to tell that story, relate that story to them of your own movie in the same way that you relate any story of any movie they ask you to tell them after you have seen the movie, if it has made a strong impact on you. That, in fact, is the next stage of this idea, is then find someone to simply tell the story to. Say, I've made this movie, it's my story, the story of my life as I'd love it to be, and I would like to tell it to you. If you cannot tell them the story totally, easily, smoothly, from beginning to end, from heart, you have missed something. Go back and do it again until it really becomes you. Go back and change whatever needs to be changed that is more memorable than what's there. Until such time as you can actually relate the story to someone from beginning to end in all the glorious details and all the glorious feelings and all the glorious surround sound in your mind that you remember, and relate it to them in that way as if you are reliving the movie. Make it your own from beginning to end. When you don't falter, when you're able to get it out smoothly, effortlessly, and able to transmit that information to someone else, then it's in you. You've got it. It's yours. That's your story. Now, that again doesn't mean it can't change. But the point is that once you do this, you'll be able to do it all the time. You'll know how it works. You can always do it in the way that we've just described externally if you wish. But anytime your story changes or anytime you want to make a change, you can also now do it internally if you believe that making that alteration in your visualization, in your mind's eye, will be as strong for you emotionally, viscerally, energetically, as it was to actually see it. If it's not, if you do that and you don't feel it as strongly, then go the other way and actually work this exercise out, live it in the way we've just described it, film it in the way we've just described it, and put it in there. It means that you're going in to edit your life story, and you're really doing it as if you would edit a film, so that it again becomes grounded, locked in, visual, visceral, tangible, a reality for you, a real impactful story for you, and then play it again and tell it again. So write the structure, write the story, act it out 3 times or more if you wish, and then allow yourself to watch it as if you're an audience member, really relate to it. Balance it out, edit it, perfect it however you want to, and once it is where you want to and you've watched it and absorbed it, tell someone who hasn't seen it, who has not seen it. Tell someone the story as if they asked you to tell them, what was that movie you saw? You seem very excited about it. Tell me about it. Tell me the story. Tell it to them and see if you can tell it all the way through, beginning to end, simply and easily, and that you feel the excitement while you're telling it. You are now a storyteller telling them this story. You become the storyteller energy. It becomes your first nature. And when it becomes your first nature, and when you're excited about telling this story to someone, then you'll be excited about your story. And anytime you change it to be more representative of what you believe it needs to be, you'll be that excited. It will come naturally to you. You'll become a natural storyteller to yourself, and you'll be more capable of altering your story in the way you prefer it to be in a heartbeat. You'll be able to do that in a moment's notice. Someone comes up to you, Pitch me your story. What's your story? Bang. You'll be able to pitch it in a heartbeat, in 5 minutes or less. No problem. Because it's your story, it's yours, it's locked in, you know the vibration, it's visceral, it's tangible, it's real, it's you. Your story. Your unique, exciting, passionate, challenging story. Everyone take a moment to take a deep breath. In and out. In and out. In and out. Take a moment to relax and feel the excitement of the anticipation of doing this permission slip or whatever variation your imagination comes up with. Get excited about it. Get excited about the process itself, because that's part of your story. Don't leave this out. Don't say, oh, well, yes, there's that story, but now I have to do all this work to put this together. No, you don't. It's up to you. But if you really want to make an impact on yourself, you'll do exactly what people do when they tell stories. They will put themselves into it. They'll be excited and passionate about it. They will want to tell that story because it's exciting to tell that story. And this is your story. This is your story. This, if you're going to get excited about any story, get excited about this one. It's your story. The most exciting story of your life is your life. So get excited about it. Get excited about all the components of it. And allow yourself to create a story that resonates with that archetypal structure so it becomes a living story. Every day, every scene, beginning, middle, and end. All the archetypes recognizable, relatable, respondable, so you know exactly what to do when they crop up. And all those scenes in combination will add up and build up and build up and allow you to experience an overarching life story that is a grand epic. Allow you to live it every day, fully. Your story, your unique, beautiful, brilliant, passionate, challenging, wondrous, magical story. Every breath you take adds to the story. Every thought you think adds to the story. Everything you feel is part of the story. Be willing to dig deep and find those things, even the fearful ones, because as we said, they add to the story. And that's exciting. Tell the story. You want the film to be exciting. You want the book to be exciting. You want it to be, as you people say, a page turner. You don't want to put it down. You want to know what happens next. What happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Oh, what happens next? Oh, what happens next? Oh, what happens next? That's what you want. You want to know. You want to know. You want to know what happens next. Because that's a good story. And that's a story worth remembering, worth living, worth being. We will add a few ideas to this in the live transmissions. But for
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to another exciting experience with Bashar. And I particularly want to welcome everyone and thank everyone for coming in the midst of this incredible weather experience, which I think is just like amping up the energy even more intensely. So I think it's going to be a really exciting weekend. And I think that everyone will have a new kind of experience now that the weather has decided to energize the whole thing even greater. Today's event is entitled Writing Your Life Story and Living Your Life Story. And it's an opportunity to gain new tools for creating the life that you desire. And in the process of doing that, it'll give you access to beliefs that perhaps you aren't aware of. Because everything that Bashar is giving us is designed to help you really understand how you're creating the reality that you're living and how to amplify that to create something that's really the life of your dreams. And I know that it's possible because I know for centuries, we've thought that being physical, that it would be sort of a drudgery to be here on Earth, difficult, hard to get what you want and everything. And we're so fortunate to be at this time on the planet where you actually can create a life of ease, a life of excitement, something that we never even thought was possible centuries ago. So this is really a spectacular time to be on Earth. And I think that the Earth changes that we're experiencing are actually something really positive, something that can really transform our world into something even better. So welcome everyone, and thank you very much for coming. The next thing that's going to happen after I step down is we're going to show you a video that's about the contact crystals. I don't know how many of you are aware of these contact crystals that have been introduced by Bashar and have been created by Kirby Seed. And Kirby is also responsible for these beautiful crystals that you see up here and the holotope that we're going to have at the end of the day. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you're interested in dolphin swimming, I think a lot of you know that I take people swimming with dolphins in Hawaii. Kona, Hawaii is one of the few places on the planet where you can actually interact with dolphins in the wild. They're our friends. We've been swimming with them for over 15 years. And whenever I'm there, I'm in the water with them consistently. So I get to see a lot of the changes in their personalities and how they live. But basically in the ocean, everybody can fly. And you never have to worry about falling to earth because you're always buoyant. And it's an incredibly beautiful dimension of reality that's right here on our planet that you can access. So I invite you to check it out and contact me if you're interested. So I think it's about time to get moving a little bit farther. First thing we're going to do is we're going to show this crystal video about the contact crystals. So this is like a really interesting thing that Bashar has introduced to us. I know I have my own contact crystal that I like to get charged by Bashar. And I'll just let the video speak for itself so that you can see what it's all about. So I'm going to step down. Thank you again for coming.
I just picked up one of your interesting little seed crystals for contact.
Yes.
I was curious if you could talk about that for a few moments.
Again, the idea is that as a child in my world, I was shown the idea of a central hexagonal crystal that existed within a giant, large artistic exhibit created by another contact specialist. The central crystal in that particular work is about, in terms of your size, about 3 feet across. The idea is that it is about the same color green, and around it are other crystals. Each crystal added to the central crystal, which represents the first contact of our civilization with another, represents all the other contacts of all the other civilizations we have come into contact with, and constantly grows as more and more civilizations join the interstellar alliance, as you call it. But the idea is that that central crystal is the seed crystal that carries the vibration of contact itself and is representative of my family lineage along with other family lineages that are also steeped into the idea of being contact specialists. So not only does the idea specifically of that crystal carry the vibration, generally speaking, that is conducive to contact with other civilizations, that particular vibration is also very specifically connected to our world and my family.
Very nice.
So, that is our way of welcoming you all to the family.
As far as permission slips go, obviously, as was explained, this is specifically tapping into the idea, the archetypal collective consciousness idea that there is a particular frequency or vibration that represents the blending or connection between your civilization and other civilizations. That is one of the frequencies that is put into the charge, in a sense, that is represented by that particular idea, object, permission slip. Now, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to always use that idea, that object, because again, permission slips are what works for you. At the same time, and in conjunction with what we were saying earlier in this transmission as to how there is really no separation between intention and action, between the physicalization, the physical act being that demonstrates and in a sense actually creates simultaneously the intention. The physical act of having a symbol of that nature, a permission slip of that nature, is similar to the idea of physically casting your vote for contact. So the more votes are cast in whatever way that occurs, in whatever form the permission slip feels right for you, the more we can tally those votes, because not just of the intention of wanting contact, but the actual physical act of physicalizing it in some sort of physical way, a physical symbol that is representative of a physical action you have taken that is actually the casting of a vote. And that vote resonates very strongly in your collective consciousness to us. So it really truly changes the vibration of your collective reality. So that is what we wish to add about that idea.
So it's really fun with the crystals. We've been actually having people tell us that since they received their crystals, that they're having all kinds of energy experiences with it. So, we always acknowledge the idea that, these are permission slips, as Bashar was saying. The interesting thing about it, though, is that, as humans, we work really well with symbols and things like that. And one thing Bashar explained to us was that the contact crystals actually act as like a vote of contact, vote for contact. So, but I actually, from my own experience, I just like having it because it feels like I have Bashar close to me, like it's a little beacon that represents the energy and just reminds me that we're not alone and that we have friends. So it's kind of fun. And we'll see what happens with them, because different people are having different experiences. So I'm going to turn this over to Darryl now and just say one thing, and that is that, I've been with Darryl and Bashar for many, many years, and to this day, the channeling to me is just amazing. That he can bring through this individual, this consciousness, this being that just is really so different from his own personality and is so wise and interesting and funny. And
You caught that.
whoops.
So different.
But you are becoming more and more like this. It's been a long 15 years, yeah. But you are becoming more and more like him. It's really kind of amazing. I'm getting in deeper and getting deeper and deeper into it. No, they really are. They're both fabulous. So anyway, I think it's like magic. So I'm just going to turn it over to you because I know you have some special things to say to the audience and to everybody that's joining us. So I'll just say thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. Before we start today, I just wanted to explain that this is going to be a little bit of a different format than we've ever done before. And so I wanted to let you in on exactly why it's happening this way. When I first became aware of the fact that I was going to channel, which was 28 years ago, I, at that moment, understood from Bashar that my original agreement with him in this life to do this was for 9 years. The rest of it was really kind of up to me. Within 9 years, he felt he would have delivered the basic information that you needed, but that there obviously was more information to give and different perspectives that he could share with everyone. But it was really in my hands and up to my schedule at that point for how long we continued after that. And like I said, you know, now it's been 3 times the length of the original agreement. So as April kind of hinted at in a sort of a backhanded way, just kidding. There has been a lot of changes and a lot of evolutions going on in the channeling since I started, one of which is also common for a lot of channels, is that the energy of the channeling does sort of start to rub off on you, does sort of start to blend in to your personality. And one of the whole points of giving the information and channeling the information is not only to help all of you to use the information to make whatever changes you need in your life, but also for the channel to sort of evolve and develop in a manner that allows them to become more like the entity that they're channeling in whatever way that means, you know, as a human on Earth. And so over time, there has been more and more blending. Things have changed. The energy has changed a lot within me. And I'm also, which, you know, some of you know and many of you don't know, aside from the channeling, I've also been in the film business for 30 years. That's my other career and one of my excitements. And as things change in terms of what I'm doing there and blending more energy from the channeling into the things that excite me, I find that the energy frequency that comes through me is changing more and more to the point where in my daily life, in a sense now, I'm sort of channeling more and more, just being in that state more and more. And I find that because I'm now in that state more and more on a daily basis, going into the altered state to do the channeling in this way to allow Bashar to translate his thoughts to you actually amps the energy up so much that I can only sustain it for a couple of hours a day. If I go beyond that, I find that I actually become kind of disconnected from physical reality, and it takes me a while to sort of come back down. So in seeing that these kinds of changes were happening in me and sort of wanting to hang around physical reality and play a little longer and know what I'm doing and not walk into walls, we had to kind of, April and I had to kind of sit down and sort of figure out ways in which we could still deliver all the information to you that we wanted to, and that we could allow Bashar to, while at the same time allowing me to adapt and adjust to the changes going on within the energy within me. So what we have come up with is kind of a 2-part idea. We have actually videotaped part of the session today on another day, a previous day, so that we can be assured that all the information that Bashar needs to deliver to you on this subject will be delivered. And so how we're kind of going to break this up is the main body of the idea will be delivered by Bashar on video to you at the beginning of this session. And then after that, I will come and I will channel live and let him interact with you directly so that you can ask him questions about what was in the video or whatever it is that's important to you to ask him. And we'll do the same thing after lunch as well. So this is kind of becoming the new format where in order to get a full 4 hours of information to you, we're going to be doing 2 hours of it as a video and 2 hours of it live, but break it up so that you can get some of the video, some of the live. And that way you can really use the information and interact with him and know that he's still there and that you can deal with him directly for whatever questions or issues might come up in the information that's delivered in the video. So, we're excited to see what this new format will do. And we hope that you will still enjoy it. It was, at least at this point, one of the ways we could figure out in order to get all the information we needed to get to you. Does anyone have any questions for me about this structure or what's going to happen today with this? No? You're all clear on that? Don't be afraid. You can ask questions. Sometimes I can answer questions too. It'll be my new career. Yeah.
What does it feel like when you're in that energy?
When I'm actually channeling, the way I usually have described it is it feels like I'm falling into a very energetic daydream. I know there's something going on, but I don't hear the words. It's as if, when you have a very strong daydream and somebody walks in the room and have to call your name like 5 times before you even hear them. It's like that. The conversation that's going on for me might as well be happening a mile away. The words are very secondary. But I'm getting energy, I'm getting emotions, I'm feeling what they're feeling. Sometimes I'll get abstract or concrete images of whatever it is they might be describing. The concept will sink within me, and I'll be able to use it in my life, and that's where I get the energy and the information that makes changes within me. But afterwards, when I come out of it, it's like the whole thing kind of fades like a dream. And I don't really remember what happened, I don't hear the words, I don't know what he said. But I'll get the basic idea that I need in my life, and I'll know that on a general level what the concepts were that he covered for you. Does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else before we go? Yeah.
I was just wondering, how do you know what your talk is going to be about? Does he?
I often don't.
Oh, really?
Sometimes we ask Bashar for these things, what do you think you want to talk about? And he'll do a download or give us some idea or a title. A little bit ahead, obviously, because we need to advertise to you what it is he's going to talk about. But a lot of times, aside from a title, I haven't a clue what he's going to say. These are never planned, they just come through, bang, and it's there.
And aside from this, does he speak to you?
There have been a few times when Bashar has spoken to me on a personal level. The way it usually happens for me, though, is that because the connection is just there between us, I just get a telepathic hit. The only reason I need to go into the altered state is so it can translate into language for you. But whenever I've had communications directly from him, it's just in an instant. I use this example to sort of illustrate what happens. Early on in the channeling, I was very, very curious to ask him about how their spacecraft work, how they travel from star to star and all that. The information was downloaded in about 1 second. It took me 3 hours to write it out. So it's that kind of intense concentration of information that happens on my end. And that's also why when I'm in the channeling state, time for me is very collapsed. My experience of this event will probably be 1/3 to 1/2 the amount of time that you're actually experiencing. So that when I come out of it, it's almost kind of startling to me how much time has actually passed. I'm not experiencing that at all. So, yeah.
Thank you. What did the conversation that you had was it a conversation that you had with Bashar to go past the original 9 years, or was that
Both. It was a choice I made personally because I felt there was more opportunity for things to be explained in different ways. Plus, this is part of my excitement. I enjoy the state. But also it was a conversation with him about, what it is that could still be delivered. I've had 4 dream conversations with him. And in the whole span of the channeling, I can only remember 4. I may have had more, but I can only remember 4. And when I have a dream conversation with him, it's not like a normal dream. It's literally like you and I are talking right now, and we're somewhere, I don't always know exactly where, and the whole entire dream is just him and I communicating about something. So some of the idea of figuring out how we would proceed with this happened in those dream conversations. Some of it is just what's happening with my life, and I just get hits and downloads about different options, and sometimes it's just the product of discussing things and seeing what feels right. So, yeah. Oh, you've never heard a description of Bashar? I see him as he describes himself. I don't know how much you know about a lot of this, and you can certainly ask him anything you want to about this in one of the questions. They describe themselves as a hybrid species, a combination of, I guess for lack of a better term, the beings that we often refer to as the Greys and us. So they're about 5 feet tall on average. Their skin is about paper white or whitish gray. Their eyes are a little bit larger. Males have no hair, females do. It tends to be white, although he said there are exceptions. They're very slight. And so they're that sort of typical, small nose, small mouth, small ears, slightly larger head, slightly larger eyes, but not too far off from us. But that's sort of how he's described their civilization. There is male and female, although at this point, they're evolving like we're evolving, and their civilization is close to becoming non-physical. And so there are not as many physicalities to the things that they do at this point anymore. They don't eat, they don't sleep. They get their energy just directly, But in time, ideally, we'll be able to see them face to face. And then, anything else before we start? Yeah.
You said as you raise your vibration.
It's not so much that Bashar comes through, it's that I'm becoming more my version of him in life. And so I'm not coming down from the level as often or as much as I do when I go into the channeling state. So my daily life, the things that I do, just like all of us, allow me to really just flow that energy more, that vibration more into the things I do. We can all channel. We all do channel. Channeling is a natural state that we can all access. It's when you do that thing that you love to do, when you don't notice the passage of time, when you're totally in your passion, when an actor becomes the character, when a singer is lost in the song, that's a channeling state. So we're all channels. It just depends on what you do with it. But the idea is that the more you stay in that state, the more it changes you. And the more you get to a point where that's your natural state, and you find that you simply don't go back, you won't go back to whatever it is that you were doing, before. And things change in your life, things change in your body, things change in your energy. So the more that I let that come through, I find that I need to just keep the balance for myself in terms of, making whatever pace is happening as a natural evolution for me. And in terms of bringing him through, about 2 hours of letting that amplified energy rub off on me is about all I need at the moment to be able to apply it in my life. If I just kept doing it, if I went longer than that, it would kind of just be sort of like filling a cup over the brim and it's all over the place and I can't use what's spilled. So now it's regulating itself kind of in a timing thing to give me like a 2-hour shot each time I do this, and that takes me a long way. So otherwise, if I go longer, I'm actually kind of dizzy for a while and I don't really know where I am or what I'm doing. So, which may be sort of not unusual for me, but yeah.
Curious about your dream state, being connected since you started channeling. Has your dreams changed at all?
Yes, quite a bit. It will just depend on what's going on. But like I said, I've had, dream communication with him. I've had more dream communication recently, especially with people that have recently passed on that I knew. So it has definitely opened me up in that area as well as a lot of other areas. Yeah. And I'm sorry, yeah, you had a question.
Do you ever feel that the channel's like disturbed or disrupted by another source?
When I'm channeling? I wouldn't say disturbed or disrupted, no. There are definitely other presences that sometimes wish to say something, but Bashar will usually be the one to facilitate that. So he'll kind of act as as the person to sort of guide how any other energy might want to express itself through me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you.
Have we turned the corner with our experience with Bashar now that you tell us about the 2-hour format? I mean, so this is it? Are you coming back to like a...
No, I won't go back to the, it's about looking at it as an expansion, as opposed to losing something. Because the idea is that anything that's going on within a change within me, within this channeling, and anything that you attract yourself to come to, you can use that as a marker that you're changing too, that this is kind of a milestone for you. And so it's an opportunity to use whatever is being changed and applied in your own life, knowing that it's a sign that you yourself might be on a higher level, and to look at it that way. And as Bashar says, if you look at it in a positive way, you'll get a positive effect out of it. So don't look at it as a loss, look at it as an opportunity to... I know. No, I know. No. It's not going anywhere. But let's just put it this way. It's being delivered in a different format. And I think that that's going to also lead to other things that I think will actually allow the energy and the information to expand in ways that we are not able to allow it to expand now by sticking to an older format. So we're always exploring new ways to get the information to you. And we have a lot of different ideas and projects that we've discussed with Bashar about how some of this new information is going to be coming to you that are actually really kind of exciting. And we need to kind of move in that direction to really allow the information to be delivered in a way that will now work for the changes going on in all of us. Yeah, and then I think we probably need to get started.
Have you ever been afraid at all in all this process? And if so, what did you do?
I've never been afraid about this process. I've certainly had fear in my life about other things, and that's gotten less and less and less and less. I mean, even this is a good example, the whole idea of what's going on with, the weather and stuff like that, because certainly I'll get hits or ideas about whether or not I should be concerned about being in sunny California and deciding to deliberately fly toward a hurricane. But I'll have an ability to tap into the idea that if I allow myself to explore what's going on with that feeling, I'll find a way to find a place for why that feeling is there and what it actually means. And in this case, it really had to do with exactly how we needed to decide to be here in this space and exactly what it is we needed to do over the course of the next days. And once that was settled, all that concern went away. So it really was, we're safe, everything's fine. I wouldn't be doing, if I really, really had a hit that there was something dangerous about this, we wouldn't be here, none of us would be here. So in that we went forward with it, but with a hit that we needed to just look at some things and make a little adjustment in the energy to make sure that everything would be the way it needs to be, then as soon as that happened, everything fell into place. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, is developing a better sense of that barometer, that internal barometer about when you feel something, to understand that it's not necessarily immediately negative. You just have to explore what it is that it's trying to deliver to you and figure out how it applies to what needs to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and let the video begin so that we can get on with letting you hear Bashar. And then I will be back as soon as the video is done, and Bashar will come through live and talk to you and interact with you with regard to your questions. And I really, really want to thank you for being here today and allowing us to be here today. And I hope you get a lot out of this new format. So thanks for going along with us in this new experiment and going to a new level with it all. Thanks.
We will say, good day to you all this day of your time. We will begin this transmission with the idea that we have called writing your life story. Now, we have discussed from time to time the idea that one of the strongest ways there is of both imparting and retaining information of any kind is to place that information in a certain kind of pattern, a certain kind of structure that you on your planet call the story structure. When you tell a story, in whatever form, in whatever medium you choose to do so, be it a book, be it a film, be it your television, or any other form you have on your planet, or simply sitting around one of your campfires, the idea is that the structure of the story, the way in which the story is told, is very important in order for the maximization of the retention of the information imparted in that story. All of you know, instinctively, in a sense, the difference between a well-told story and a story that does not really grab your attention. You don't necessarily always know why the story may not be as engaging as it could be. And you always know when it is very, very, very engaging. But you don't always necessarily know why one or the other works or not. The reason why a story works is because it is resonating within a particular structure called story structure, or what on your planet has been euphemistically labeled the hero's journey. This archetypal structure has existed not only on your planet for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, but also, in certain ways, works in other realities as well. Now, of course, it will always be somewhat different. The structure may vary subtly or even greatly from reality to reality, from civilization to civilization. Nevertheless, the basic, fundamental story structure is common to many different realities, especially those that are somewhat similar to your own in terms of being in physical reality. The idea of why story structure allows information to be imparted so strongly and retained so strongly over time is because not only is it that the structure imparts the information, not only is it some kind of skeleton, in a sense, upon which you can flesh out the story, but the structure itself is actually archetypally imprinted in your consciousness. Many people who are familiar with telling stories, people that are storytellers, writers, whatever you wish to call them, sometimes innately or instinctively understand that within a story, there may be many different types of archetypes used to represent and symbolize certain principles, certain ideas within the story, but not many individuals understand that story structure itself is an archetype and is actually firmly embedded, firmly ingrained in the structure of your consciousness, of your physical mind itself. That is why when someone tells a story that uses story structure in an appropriate manner, what that means is they are striking the right chords. They are, in that sense, hitting all of the correct resonances that are embedded within your physical mind consciousness, within your physical mind structure. It is similar to the idea of playing music, hitting all the right tones, hitting all the right chords, hitting all the right harmonics, because it is as though that structure is already inside your being, already part of your frequency, and by simply plucking the right chord outside, you are causing a harmonic, sympathetic vibration to start resonating in the structure inside your consciousness. So when a story is told in a certain format that includes all of the appropriate points, structures, resonance, it will actually start those structures vibrating and resonating within your consciousness so as to allow you to more strongly identify with what is being said, to place yourself in that situation, in that story that is being told to you, so that it feels more like it's actually happening to you. And when something feels like it's happening to you, then it feels like a true experience. And when it feels like a true experience, you retain that information. It becomes ingrained within you. It becomes a part of your vibration. It becomes part of who you are. That is how story structure works, to cause the structure within you to resonate, to vibrate, so that it feels like you're actually having a real experience. The more strongly you can adhere to the story structure, then the more strongly the experience will lock into your being. The more strongly you will retain all the information that is contained in that experience, and you will remember it for a lifetime, and even beyond a single lifetime. Because as you create certain stories that resonate strongly with that structure, these stories are handed down from generation to generation. They become legends, as you call them. And they exceed the course of any one lifetime, the span of any one lifetime, and are repeated and repeated and told from generation to generation. The idea of why you remember certain people more strongly than others in terms of the things that they may accomplish, the things that they may choose to do in life, is because of the way their story is told. And perhaps even more importantly, the way they lived their story so that it can be told in a manner that is in keeping and in alignment and in harmony with that story structure that is embedded within your consciousness. So this leads us to the understanding that if you yourselves wish your own lives to be experienced in a much more powerful way, in a much more palpable way, in a much more tangible way, and you wish in that sense to feel that experience more strongly, more immediately, more viscerally within your own lives,